Honestly, Cornelius, you'd think I'd be ready, and I had everything ready to go, and then you and I finished in hair and makeup, and then I still forgot to open up the email. It sort of helps me just a little bit, just to get us there.
I couldn't find your email.
You couldn't find the email. Yes. Well, that's the challenge. Most people are so used to going to timsoffice.com, which pulls you into my normal Zoom room, but this is an eCam channel for this fiasco. Here we are. Good morning, everybody. It is Monday, June 5th, which makes it, are you ready for this? Hold on to the furniture, Cornelius. It is September 3rd. So we are there. It is Labor Day weekend. We are 90 days out from Labor Day weekend. We today are scheduled 11 o'clock. If you're a proven capper, which means you've capped, and once a capper, always a capper. We're having a conversation at kellertv.com about your business at 11 o'clock. We do those production masterminds on Mondays every month, and it's proven cappers today. Then at 12 o'clock, if you are a part of the Couch to 10K, which involves no running, just like Fight Club involves no violence. We just want to get your attention. So Couch to 10K is all about getting off the couch, getting into production, and getting that 10K, which is our average GCI check based on our numbers. Join Zoe and the crew. Will all be in the room at 12 o'clock for that conversation. And then at 1 o'clock, Ask the Brokers. You're so fortunate to have such access to your brokers. Jennifer Vashon, Jason Westcott, on Mondays, on Fridays at 1 o'clock, and then, of course, Wednesday mornings for all the states that we serve. We rotate between Vermont and Massachusetts at 9 o'clock on Wednesdays. 10 o'clock is always Maine. 11 o'clock, always New Hampshire. So with all that being said, we're going to get into it. So I brought on Cornelius. You landed only most recently. I want you to bring everybody up to speed, get us from like high school graduation to this conversation. You were near real estate before with lending. But I'll let you take it away. So tell us how we were fortunate enough to get into business with you. Where did you sprout up first? Where did you grow up?
I actually grew up in Portsmouth.
Okay.
Came over to Rochester, the beginning of high school. But after high school, really, I just kind of went crazy a little bit, like most people. I moved to Florida, had to figure life out. Came back, and my goal.
What sent you to Florida? The weather, or what was?
Yeah, just change, really. Community. I felt like I'd probably have a better community for myself that I haven't experienced in the 90s, early 2000s in New Hampshire.
Sure.
Definitely wasn't what I thought. I came home. I missed home for sure. When I came home, my goal was to get into real estate. Fears, doubts, insecurities, and bills definitely deterred that. Probably more fears, doubts, and insecurities. But so I got into the lending world. I was an underwriter for 6.5 years. I was with a brokerage that really wasn't treated well, and I held a lot of it together. Yeah. So I just kind of stuck with that for a little bit, and I realized I loved what I was doing in regards to the industry, but I needed a change. So I went over, as most of you know me, for X5, and there the boss just one day was like, "Why don't you get on the phone?" And I was like, "I didn't come here for that. I'm an underwriter. You're crazy." I'm like, "Do you know me?" And he's like, "No, I think actually you would enjoy it. Let's just try it." We went in a room, went on the phone, and I absolutely loved it. I got a meeting, like the third phone call, and I'm like, "Oh my God, it just gave me the best feeling ever." Yeah. And long story short, I just switched over from loans to working with realtors. I fell in love with pretty much every realtor I met, doing open houses, events, and all that. And it became more of something that I felt like I needed to do than something that I wanted to do for work longer. So I took a year off, went to school, passed the test the first round, and I just knew that Keller Williams, due to the community, was where I needed to be.
Awesome. So what would you've got a bunch of stuff going on from our conversations, and I know you're in the midst of, as people know when they get here, when you first land, you get the joy of dealing. I shouldn't even use the word dealing. You get the joy of working with Zoe before you have to start dealing with me. Like, you eventually graduate to conversations with me, and then of course you have access to both of us and Melissa and all that stuff and everything here at the Market Center. What was the thing that because you had a lot of obviously institutional knowledge from being in lending. So you knew the greasy part of this. I think a lot of people that come into the industry, they're like, oh, it's just going to be like on TV. You sell a house in 22 minutes minus commercials. Yay. And I get to dress up and swing doors open and sell things with 2 decimal points. And it's going to be unicorn rides and illicit drugs and all the fun, right? And you get here like, oh, crap, we're eating ramen. We're making calls. Like the work shows up. So you knew that was going to be a reality. How much did it punch you in the chest, or were you really ready for it?
I'm not going to lie. I thought I was ready for it. It definitely punched me in the chest. Like I talked about earlier, fears, doubts, and insecurities. I think they control a lot of us.
Is that going to be your book?
I honestly love the term because sometimes you get in your own head. And if you just think fears, doubts, insecurities, you can get out of that.
Yep.
And I kind of play with my mind in that way to keep myself happy going through the day and doing what I have to do. But what was the question?
Well, I knew you were ready for it. I was saying that, you were probably ready for it because of what you already knew about the industry. But was there a punch to the chest? Was there still oh, crap, this is worse than I thought? Or more difficult than I thought, or more challenging?
More difficult. Coming from me, I was a little cocky with the documents because I was an underwriter for so long. And I grew up documents daily all day. I stressed it. I think my mind went to another level. The documents, doing it on your own. I didn't go on a team. I came in alone. It's just very important to see if I could do this my first year. So far, so well. So I think I'm thinking I'm going to stay here. But yeah, it's definitely harder than I thought. But I got to be honest. Somebody told me when I first came in, take advantage of everything Keller Williams has to offer. All the everything. Monday through Friday, take everything you absolutely can. But the most important thing to do, I think it was Zoe who said this, don't forget to go out and do it.
Yes.
Do what you're learning. And that's the one thing that got me. Fears, doubts, and insecurities. My first 2 weeks, I didn't even post on Facebook. I was like scared to tell people I was a real estate agent. I'm like, I just worked 8 months for this. Why am I scared? So Brad Roberts just kind of threw it out there. He's like, you won't. And I'm like, I went home 2 hours later. I did a post. I got my first listing from it. 450,000.
That's amazing.
We closed last week. So it just, I think that was a learning experience for me that screw fears, doubts, and insecurities. Like you either want it or you don't. And I want it back.
Yeah, Zoe makes a great point. We always, I think people get here and you hear this all the time. Well, there's so much on the calendar. You can become a professional student. Well, I'm going to challenge and I'm going to slap back on that. You would not be a professional student. You would be an amateur student. Professionals get paid, right? And you can because of our calendar and the company itself, KW in general, KWRI, International, not Rhode Island, even though whatever. So in the grand scheme of things, we're a company that leans into coaching and training and all that stuff. And then I would argue that our market center has a relatively robust training calendar. That being said, you can hide in the education. Zoe's point, which is hyper valid, is, we still have to go do the damn thing. Like you can sit, and I'm saying this as a terrible golfer, which I think you can hit a bucket of balls every day. If you never go out and try to put together 18 holes, you're never going to know where your weak spots are. You're never going to know what you have to work on. So it's wildly important. And the other half of that, when you weren't posting, you were sort of holding back, that is probably the number one answer on the board for most agents that are just getting started. And usually, if Steve Harvey was here, the number one answer on the board is, why did you not post? Why did you not tell the people you know and love and trust? The fear is my next conversation with them, I might be telling them I left, which is really heartbreaking, right? I don't want to tell my people I'm doing it, because what if it doesn't work out? Fears, doubts, and insecurities, right? So that being said, the irony there is that when you don't tell your people, there's less of a probability they can help you. So when you did post, where did that listing come from?
Literally, they commented, and like my first thought, this is when I first felt like a salesman. My first thought was, oh my God, I have like 500 real estate agents on my Facebook page. So I DM'd them right away.
Yep.
And it turned into my first meeting a week later. So 3 weeks in, I signed my first listing.
So good.
And I was scared. I had no idea what to do. I did my listing presentation myself with the knowledge of you guys. I asked some friends, and I really spent like 3, 4 days, like 20 hours a day, digging through all the things you guys offer.
Mm-hmm.
And I just did it. And the next one was a lot easier. And I just, yeah, I don't know. It after the fear, doubt, and insecurities, it seemed natural, if that makes sense. Once you take what you've learned, I've made mistakes already, obviously. I'm only 4 months in. But that's okay. You're going to make mistakes. Jason Westcott, every time I call him, I'm like, this is the first real problem. And he laughs. But yeah, it is what it is. I've just learned that another thing I want to say that I was surprised about, I had this fear too about reaching out to everyone I've known my whole life, saying, yo, like it would, I have to get my own leads. This would be super grateful if you could support me. I've worked hard, yada, yada. Every single one of those turned out into a conversation of people like proud, excited, and I'm getting goosebumps right now just thinking about it. And that's turned into a couple leads. And it's literally, and I have people like still reaching out over that, like, is this something you can do? And I think we kill it ourselves. Well, we saying me, I kill it myself a lot in my head. And I got to be honest, I did not think I would be doing all right now. I thought it'd be taking me a good year to kind of get going. I was worried about having to getting another job. And I knew I needed to do this full time, and it's working out great. So.
Yeah, we, as a company, our big credo as a company, certainly as a staff here in service of you guys, is we want to eradicate the language of no because and switch it to yes and, right? Rather than you guys coming to us and say, can we do this? Well, no, and here's why, no because, and switch it into yes, and here's how we'll do it together, right? And I think that's really important to making sure, and I talk about this all the time. My first run of business cards, when I started working with JV and Nate was stepping out of production. JV and I were taking his business, and I had buyer specialist on my business card, which was such a reduction, right? It was such a restrictive conversation. I had more people asking me to define what a buyer specialist was. What I should have done, and on my second run of cards, I got rid of that and I put Maine, New Hampshire, Mass, because I had my license in 3 states. I wasn't telling that grand conversation. I was telling a very narrow conversation, or building, right? Bold law. People grow into the conversations we create around them. And if people are asking, can you do this? I need everybody in our ecosystem to be like, yes, just say yes, because there's somebody here that can help you. And just because you don't have the capability or the know-how to do it doesn't mean that somebody on our team can't help. Right. So you guys have to walk around with a chip on your shoulder of like a little bit of F and U on your shoulder. Like, I absolutely can pull this off. It's not going to be just me. And you hear Westcott say this all the time. We're going to be the source of the source. We are the connective tissue between the people in our communities and getting shit done. And we're just going to bring in our team, which is a vast, whether it's a fellow agent, whether it's an allied resource like Brad Kelly, whomever it may be, we always just have to answer that question with yes. Because we get you'll get this. You'll be like, hey, my fat Uncle Tony wants to buy a pizza place on Mars. Awesome. Tell me more, right? Because we have a commercial division. And if you ask Nate politely and correctly and at the right moment, he'll probably build a space shuttle. Like, we'll figure it out. Like, we will get you there for the showing, So I appreciate you brought that up. Definitely want to dive into communities. Every year when I go to Family or Mega, I'm waiting to see what's going to pop up. I think a couple years ago, it was the family reunion right before COVID. We were actually supposed to have Simon Sinek on stage, and he was out sick. I think we all know what that might have been. Anyway, that year on stage, the word that kept popping up for me personally was authenticity. The word that they made predominant this year in California was communities. And I mean, these are as boring as the ones we've always known about with KW Commercial, luxury. We used to call it farm and ranch. Now it's called land. And your local land guy, we're going to get him a cowboy hat too, is Sean Cody, by the way. We've got KW military, KW operations, real estate planner, relocation, style to design, sports and entertainment. Liz Landry just started KW Talent. There's KW Wealth with Brett Tanner, Young Professionals, which I believe you're a member of, Cornelius, and KW Wellness. Oh, you're not? Are you just over the line?
I just turned 40.
Well, I know, but it's 40 and under. I say that as a 79-year-old. Yeah, yeah. You know, they'll take anybody's money. It's fine. You can join Young Professionals. I think I have too much gray hair. They're now doing a visual. Yeah, it's my eye. I have too much gray hair to be in there. Anyway. Actually, I think when I aged out, they hadn't even invented it yet. They had, but they hadn't. KW Wellness is also one, and that's just about health and wellness. And they haven't, it's not on the page. If you go to communities.kw.com, you'll see all these. They don't have Clarity there yet. I do believe maybe it's a subsect of wellness, but Clarity's also there for our agents and our friends who are entering into or practicing sobriety. And then, of course, one of the big ones is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And of that sprouted the Rainbow Network, which you're a member of. And I remember you almost tackled me in the hallway. You were so excited when you joined, and you talked about the fact that it's been a game changer for you. Talk to me about the Rainbow Network and how that's built an even broader sense of community for you at KW.
Oh, it's absolutely insane. I actually, while I was going through my license, Alex Whitehall called me. It was taking Bold, and he heard about it.
Yep.
And he's like, "I know you're getting your license, but I want you to remember this." And I totally forgot. And then right when I joined, Brooke Silva brought it up again. I'm like, this seems interesting. I looked it up. And it's really just a weekly mastermind. I have to be honest, it's the most inspiring hour I spend a week. I don't even consider it as my business now. It's kind of in my calendar as personal. I mean, just in the last 12 months, we have 1,800 members. There's been 4,500 referrals and $1.4 billion referred value. That's just in the past 12 months. And this started, like you said, through COVID. COVID, kind of everything shut down, and a couple people out of California and one out of Florida were like, let's see if we can get something going. And they created the Rainbow Network, and it's phenomenal. It's people all over the world in KW. We're completely connected. It's referral based, yes, but our weekly masterminds, you wouldn't even really know we're all real estate agents, but at the same time you would. It's just absolutely phenomenal. And they try to celebrate like all acts. So like there was Women's Month, there was the Power of Her, and they took all the, there was 4 huge agents from all over the world with Keller Williams, the 4 biggest female agents. But they took it down, and it was more talking about the stuff they go through as an agent, more or less than just how they got successful. It's the best hour I spend a week, and I love that Keller Williams is offering it, and I love that they're working on other groups as well. So they're in the midst of working on a few other groups, and I love that KW is completely open. If there's a group and you're very powerful about it, they'll help you and work with you in getting it going and actually getting it national and all over the place. Another huge thing I'm super excited for is they meet a few days before Mega Camp and Family Reunion. So
gives you an excuse to go for 2 weeks.
Huh?
It gives you an excuse to go for 2 weeks.
It kind of, yeah. They go like 4 days beforehand, but I just think it's absolutely phenomenal that they're not separating themselves. They're just trying to get a little bit ahead, meet everybody, and then they go and bang it with everyone else. And I just think it's phenomenal. I got to be honest, I wasn't even thinking of Family Reunion or anything before, and now I feel like I need to go for Family Reunion, but also for this. I think it's a game changer in just our lives. It's going to make me a better person, a better friend, and obviously definitely a better real estate agent.
Yeah, I love that you brought up Mega and Family. One of the things to be aware of, for years we had Mega was historically in September, and the 2 things got in the way. More often than not, there's Formula One, which Nathan's very passionate about. There's Formula One in Austin, which was running into those dates, and it would jack up the city if they were trying to do that, and obviously Mega Camp at the same time. And the other thing was it stepped on trying to put it in between Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah was always a challenge too. And the company's very aware of making sure that they're certainly not stepping on or interrupting anybody's ability to practice their faith or be part of a community. So that's why it moved to August. And honestly, it's not like September gets any cooler down there. Like August, September, it's going to be 109 in the shade either way. It doesn't really matter. And to your point about it being in front of the session, they'll do that with luxury. They'll do that with commercial. So most of the communities will have their session and get it right in front so you guys can get juiced up before you go in and be with everybody else. Because it's not supposed to be an also. Like they don't want it to feel, they want you guys to have your space. Every one of these communities and groups has their space, but then to not be compartmentalized and then get together. Because you haven't been to a family yet or mega. Have you been to either one?
No.
So historically, mega is going to be a little bit smaller because it's always in Austin. And I think people are like, I can go next year. The numbers are not usually as big. You're looking at about probably 12,000. We almost hit 20,000 in Dallas before COVID for family. So it can get that big, which is incredible, right? So you can only imagine the Rainbow Network. You're probably going to see 90% of that community will be there, right? Which is pretty amazing. Yeah, Simon Sinek, who I always rave about. I love Simon Sinek. He was talking on a podcast or something most recently, and it speaks to what you just said. When people came back from COVID, because COVID eradicated so many things, you may be, and I know for our faith, we're Catholic and we practice over in, we have 3 churches in our parish, but it completely went online. And even when it came back, you were sitting every other row 30 feet apart with a beekeeper's helmet on. Like I was just like, I'll go back to church when I go back to church. So we were literally doing it on television. All that aside, it got rid of it. It kept people from their faith. It canceled bowling leagues and all these different things. And what Simon Sinek was talking about was people were coming to their offices. When the offices started to open up, members of your office community were looking for almost everything there. We had to turn into your house of faith. We had to turn into your Rainbow Network. We had to offer all these things. So I think there's a proliferation. Certainly not across all companies. I think KW is doing a pretty damn good job. But the human experience has to be celebrated within the walls of our offices because it's sort of never going to be the same again back at some of these places where they were. And, God's honest truth, and I've said this to everybody that will listen, our version of us is never going to be the same. Like for those of you that are back, if you're loving what it looks like now, it was different before. Better, worse, whatever, but it was different before. And I think people are thirsting for us to get our numbers back. And for a lot of people, it's never going to be natural to come back to the office or their life is completely changed. But we do have to be able to support. And that's why I'm so thrilled that we're privately held, because I can talk about faith. We can talk about God. We can talk about anything in the grand scheme of things and have to sort of throw out the mindset of our folks where you didn't talk about religion and politics. And I still don't think it's great to talk about politics, but we should be able to talk about who we are as people if we're truly going to support each other. A lot of companies throw around the word family, and that sort of grates me because I feel like, honest conversation, I could get fired tomorrow. We're not family, right? But I'll love you till I'm gone, in the grand scheme of things. So I think as much as we can support each other in everything that we are, 100% of ourselves is wildly important. Simon Sinek made such a great point, and I just hear that every day. Like people are looking for their bowling league, they're looking for their church, they're looking for their Rainbow Network, they're looking for their, when are we going to start KW Old People? I will run that. I will be in charge. Yes. KWOF, old folks. Yes. Anyway.
I'll say it's a lifestyle. It's definitely not a 9-to-5 job.
Yes. Yep.
So it totally makes sense that we should be able to have communities and feel at home. I mean, I was at the office the other day. I know we got to go for 2 minutes, and literally 2 minutes, I had to just go figure something out. I literally, the whole ride home, half an hour, I'm smiling ear to ear from the 5 people I ran into. It's just, we're great. It's 24/7 job, and I feel like we should be family. And I love it because we are.
Yeah. It's awesome. I appreciate your time. Thanks for hanging out. If people have questions, because, depending on where they are in their journey, somebody might not necessarily shoot their hand up and say, hey, I'm looking for KW Wellness or KW Clarity or anything in particular. When I know some people approached you about the Rainbow Network. If somebody's maybe a little timid to have that conversation, how can they reach you? What's the best way to get a hold of you so you can be a guiding light for them?
Yeah, absolutely. You can reach me 603-842-0490, my email. And if you're nervous to even talk to me about it, you can go right on to KWRainbowNetwork.com. You can sign up there, your membership. And then if you have any questions at that point, I can talk to you about the meetings or anything like that. We did have another member sign up in our brokerage last week.
Awesome.
So definitely would love more. And I would love to get to the point so we can have regional meetings on this side and really do the thing. So yeah, thank you.
I'll say this out loud right now. You should the guy that roams around the building quite a bit goes by Nathan. He might be able to help you with that. I don't know if we have a regional ambassador for Rainbow Network.
I'm not sure because I haven't heard
we might be
anything
talking to him right now. I don't know. It's very exciting. I love it. All right, bud, I appreciate it. We'll see you in and around the Market Center. If you guys need anything from me, it is 603-834-2856. You can book my face at meetwithcoach.com. Have a terrible week. I'm just kidding. Have a phenomenal week. It's raining out, though. Stay dry, stay on the phones, and we'll see you around the Market Center. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.